So, without further ado, let the coffee hour begin. And I want to start with just welcoming you, Robert Jolie, and thanking you so much for being with us.
Happy to be here.
Thank you so
Nice to
much.
see some familiar names.
Yes, it's lovely, isn't it? So
Yep.
I have a first question for you. And my question is, you spent a large portion of your life advocating for people who didn't speak English and to make sure that there's interpreting standards and that we could serve people in the justice and in the courts of law. So my question to you is this what you envisioned yourself doing as a child when you were a little kid? Were you like, oh yeah, I'm going to grow up and become an interpreter, advocate, and agitator?
Not at all.
So I remember you. You probably don't remember me, and that's okay. I was one of many students and one of many years at Rutgers University. But I remember the day that you came in and you spoke to my advanced interpreting
Mhm.
class, and you showed us the pay scale for New Jersey interpreters, and I remember that being very exciting because I was like, "Ooh, if I could earn money like that, then I'll just be able to afford yachts and cruises my whole life." Um, so I remember you showing that, and I also remember you saying to us, if we were in, what did you say? And you can correct me here, but I remember you saying something like, if we had been in a strange country and maybe somebody had done something to us and we had to go to court to testify, what percentage would we want interpreted accurately? And of course, the whole class said 100%. We would all want 100% if we were in that
Right.
situation in a foreign country. And then you said, well, for the court interpreting exam, it's a 70% to pass, and it's still really hard. And I remember you walking us through the whole thing, and it really obviously made an impression on me. But so what I remember too, you talking about being in prisons with people who had been in jail, who were Spanish speakers, who didn't necessarily even know why they were there. Was that the pivotal moment for you where sort of interpreting did come onto your radar? And talk to us about that.
Sure. When I was in seminary, when I finished my undergraduate studies, I came to Princeton Theological Seminary in 1971, and they required something called field education, which means working in some applied environment. And most students worked at a church, but I didn't want to work at a church. I wound up working as a chaplain at a state prison with the Hispanic inmates. And over 3 years of doing that, and including one summer full time, I got to know them really well, and I even visited some of them in their homes when I took them for like a 6 hour release before they were paroled. Got to see them in their home environments. I actually went with one to a courtroom. She was in a motion for post-conviction relief. And the more I listened, the more I paid attention, the more I saw, these people, a lot of them complained about going to court and not understanding what was happening because the court either provided no interpreter or they brought a friend or a relative along. You know the story. That's where things were in the 70s. And so I listened and I paid attention and was appalled. And then
Yeah.
once I finished seminary, that drove me to go to the Graduate School of Criminal Justice so I could get the credential to hopefully find employment at the highest policy level in the criminal justice system so I could start working on changing the system.
This is where I think it's so fascinating, your story, because you saw an injustice and it bothered you so much that you then decided, you know what, I'm going to get a degree so that I can go into the system and change the system from inside the system. And then you did. So just thank you, first of all, on behalf of everybody who has benefited then from the standards that have been raised, and then all from us who have a profession now that didn't really exist 50 years ago, 60 years ago. So did when you were first working with these inmates, a lot of us have these impressions of what people in jail are like. Do you think that you had sort of those stereotypes and then I don't know, or did you go in with more of an open mind when you went in to meet people?
Well, I went in completely ignorant with all the prejudices that everybody else has. And I'll never forget the first time I walked into Trenton State Prison and the doors clanked behind me. That was an awesome feeling to know that I couldn't get out unless somebody let me out. And then to start listening to the prisoners who were there was a wonderful learning experience. And We were in a chaplaincy environment, so I wasn't a therapist. I wasn't a social worker. We had uh, basically devotional services, but we had some time to talk. And some of them I became quite friendly with. And But just the more that I listened, it's like, these are human beings just like everybody else. And actually, I didn't find them to be much different in terms of moral qualities than the corrections officers.